Blog Talk Radio.
And now, where the paranormal meets the sacred, and all topics in between. Live from Los Angeles, California, welcome to the Paranormal and the Sacred Radio Show, with your host, Char McCain.
Tonight's guest is Marc Sima, and he is a author and teacher, and he'll be stepping in from Beijing in just a moment. And he crafts a highly entertaining, plot-driven, and contemporary fiction novels. And he currently lives in China, where he writes and teaches composition. And for the last 20 years, he led development projects in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. Texas Lights, which is the book we're going to discuss tonight, which revisits the 2008 Stephenville mysterious mass UFO sighting. So I'm starting on. I want to thank you for calling in. What I was doing was reading some things out of your book, and I find it quite fascinating that I think you put a lot of yourself into this.
I certainly did. I certainly put a lot of subject matter that I liked, were important to me over many years. So there's a lot of me and things that I'm interested in, and places I like that I put in the novel. Yes,
that's right. Because I was like, even as I was reading this, I was getting a little bit like shocked, because it sounds like things that are going on right now. I know you didn't intend it, but it seems like, okay, so it's talking about the Baker pursuit and wonder of the Stephenville sighting was somehow linked to what may have happened at this ranch, and then that he met with a very unusual rebuke. The U.S. president said something like you, and we are glad that you are the Prime Minister of Canada. We think you are doing a terrific job, but pushing the issue is not good for our relations. It's not good for you personally. Then the president switched the topics, and then it just sounds really real to me, because you're bringing up the Secret Service, CIA, the DIA, the NSA, and Homeland Security and all that, and so it just sounds kind of somewhat truthful here.
Although it is a fun read, and I had a lot of fun writing it, and I hope, or my purpose, that people have fun reading it. At the same time, I feel that UFO should not be a matter of ridicule, and that it is part of the real world, real life. And that's what I try to construct, although it's a literary construction, of course. I'm trying to really construct a real world, as much as I know this world. And as far as the official side, I know a little bit about the official side, because I was myself, for a number of years, a European Union diplomat based in the Middle East. So I have an idea how government works and how they talk to each other, how the whole thing functions. So I try to that degree of reality in the fiction, in the story.
Yeah, I just find it very interesting. I look forward to keep reading on and finishing it. And I like the format too, because it reminds me of the things that were just now. This is another thing that really had me interested, because, we just were having the depositions taken in Washington, D.C. for all the people that have witnessed, military and everybody like that. I'm sure that you were following that about the truth behind all the UFO things. What do you think about that disclosure?
I think that every time you bring a number of very credible people together in the same room to talk about the issue, it brings weight to it. What I found unfortunate in this event is that there was a access fee to see the actual internet feed. And I think that was unfortunate, because the organizer didn't need to do that, and they had already the funding for that particular event. So to have people to pay would mean that only people already interested would want to do that, even if the fee was small. So I think it had very little impact, although it had all those great people put together, and it was again ridiculed by the main media, and it's sort of I hope the public start to wake up more and more to the shortcomings of the main media, who is not being at the service of the readership. It seems to be at the service of people who are funding those newspapers and TV stations. So, unfortunately, through internet and through blogs and radio blogs like yours, or books I'm trying to write, we can provide the public with I wouldn't say the word alternative, but another view, another take on reality, on big issues. UFO is a big issue, but there are others where I think we have the same problem, where anybody trying to have a different take about our reality, what's happening in our world today, is ridiculed, called just a conspirationist, and I think that's that's unfair. That's not called for, and we are supposed to be in the 21st century in a society where dissent should be acceptable, where we should be able to express our views, and that people should judge on merit of what one or the other are saying. But it's interesting how we see in this event you mentioned in Washington a complete blackout of the media about it. And when it was once reported in the Washington Post was just to make fun of the most extreme persons that were invited. All kind of people were invited, and some people had very maybe different views, and so they used that to ridicule the whole event. Although some former member of Congress were there to hear the depositions, and scientists, member of different armed forces from other countries were there as well to speak about the UFO phenomenon. So this is our world. We have to speak, and we have to take any opportunity so that little by little the public kind of wake up to the UFO phenomena and other issues of importance in our world today.
That's so true, because I was reading today that millions of people are saying they either have seen a UFO, that they've had interaction, they've been abducted. Like, we're talking millions of people, and millions and millions of people are being ignored. Do you know the statistics on that?
I don't have a precise figure, but it's a consistent event. It is a phenomenon that maybe groups different things, but it is worldwide. It's been there at least since World War II. Every decade had its scores of events, mass sightings, incomprehensible events, and it not just in America, not just in North America, but in Europe, in Asia, in the Middle East, everywhere. In Africa, in Black Africa. So it is world phenomenon. It's been around for a long time, and actually, according to decades, if you go back a little bit in history, you will see that it was not a topic of such ridicule for a number of years. Actually, just after World War II, it was mentioned, discussed. We have the correspondence of Churchill asking about the matter. It was certainly, we know it has been discussed at the highest level of government, and it has interested the U.S. Air Force officially from 1952 all the way to 1970. And if it was just illusion, a mass delusion, whatever you want to call it, why would the Air Force want to keep tap on it for so many decades? And that was, we have the whole data of it. It's called Project Blue Book. So it was discussed in Congress. So it's not a new mental illness or anything. It is a phenomenon that has been studied at length, that has received some level of secrecy and protection from different governments, and it has been studied. We had Congress hearings about it, fundings for decades, and at the end we had the Condon report that closed the topic, saying, well, there's nothing into it, and the public should look somewhere else because there's nothing there. But that was a sort of a summary of a long study over several decades by the U.S. Air Force and other government agencies that really put together a significant amount of circumstantial evidence that for any other topic would mean that, yes, there is something and we should get to the bottom of it. But at a certain moment, the public was not supposed to hear more about it, and the topic was closed, was kept out of view under the pretense that it was not being studied anymore by the government because it's not deemed interesting anymore.
Or much more open-minded about it. And I know you have visited and lived in many countries, and could you give us an overview about what other countries think about this topic?
Well, it is intriguing for many governments, and it is a topic of frustration. I'm quite sure, and we have hints of that some governments outside the United States have been frustrated by the attitude of the U.S. not wanting to release any information, and I think it's true for example, what we have seen from armed forces in Latin America. From information requests from the UK, from Belgium, from France, and so on. So there is great interest and a little bit of frustration with what is perceived to be sort of blackout by the American authorities that seem to know more than they are saying. And this was very clear in the quasi-official report written by French officials, very high-ranking officials in the defense establishment, in the Air Force, air traffic controllers, civilian and military, police, police services of France, and so on, who came together in the 90s and produced a great report, quite a definitive report of the best sightings, best cases that were known until then, and in their conclusion, they really point the finger to the American government, saying that it's time to share with allies, supposedly allies, what's going on here. So there is the attitude certainly is different with other governments, and in the case of France, myself being Swiss and French, well, I know that I can find out everything about UFO events in France because we have it online. It is an official website. It is compiled and studied by the government. It's a unit funded by the government that brings together the French military police and the or equivalent of the NASA or aerospace agency, and this unit has been publishing ever since the internet has been in place what they've been collecting much before. I mean, we are talking about a database goes back to the 70s. So in France we take it very seriously, and as well as in a number of countries. So and now, with the advent of the internet and YouTube and social media, every time somebody sees something, well, everybody can share it on the internet. So there's this mass of videos, of sightings, of TV reports that are, that are all contributing to what I would call circumstantial evidence. And for some people, some skeptics, it would never be enough, of course, until it is published as, a front-page article in the New York Times saying, yes, UFOs are real, then everybody's allowed to say, yes, they are real. But it seems this is not going to come anytime soon. And if you look at recent events, that's not related to UFO, but if you look at recent events showing what the government has been trying to do, hiding a lot of issues from the public since 9/11, the FISA courts, for example, and the fact that everybody the government is allowed to listen to everything that we say, we report, we talk with one another. Anytime we use digital device, then the government is allowed to listen in, but we're not allowed to question the government. We're not allowed to know what they're doing. This is called to be working against America if we start to do the same to the government and ask questions. So we are living in this uneven world, and more where the government seems to have this enormous resources at hand to keep tab on everything we're doing, and we're not capable to of course, to do the same. And the cover-up of UFOs and the cover-up of many issues, I think, since 9/11, are maybe a testimony that the fact that a lot of things are not told to the public, that we're supposed to live in a democracy where the people should have the right to know what is important matters to them, and it seems that the system is not working properly.
Yeah, so it's just you kind of alluded that to some of your book, because I was reading about the communications are getting intercepted on the UFO topic and stuff like that, and I thought it was just so interesting that I felt like, I wonder if he has a little bit of ESP going on in here, because there's some, you're talking about that a little bit, about the communication and things being intercepted between, how would you put it? I was just reading the one about, it's still focusing on the Stephenville, but they said that some of your, let me see if I can find this. I can't find it right now, but it was talking about that, some of the communications between the secret agencies was being listened to and things like that. It's very mysterious, and I really have fallen in love with your book, and I want everybody to go out and get this book and order it. And I have a link on the front page where people can order this book. And Mark, I think it's really great. I'm really enjoying it so far.
Great. I'm glad that you enjoy reading it. That's really the main purpose. And if it can be informative as well, then that's even better.
Yeah. What do you know about the Stephenville case? Could you tell us about that?
Yes.
What do you know about that particular case?
The case, I think, is fascinating, still fascinating more than 5 years later, because it's the first time that massive fighting happened after the advent of the Internet as we know it. So it was not possible to circumvent the event. In the past, a local newspaper would report what people see in the city, and then it would take a long, long time to make it to national news, international news, and many times it didn't. But in the case of Stephenville, you have this great reporter, you have Angela Joyner that was really at the center of bringing together all the witnesses and always being contacted by international media before she ever went into CNN. So the Internet made the event international, and it was not possible to hide it. I think for that matter, it was significant, although it was probably a great event. But probably the Phoenix event in '97 was maybe a larger event and was seen maybe by more people as.
Could you explain the Stephenville than the other event, because some of our listeners may not know exactly what we're talking about?
Yeah, Stephenville in 2008, January 2008, at sunset, people were coming out of their home with friends to look at the beautiful winter sunset in Eras County, Texas, and they saw what they describe a very large object, the size of a flying Walmart. People are talking about several football stadiums across. Many good, reliable testimony. Constable took a video of the object, police officers draw the object, hovering over this small community. And we had many witnesses. And then it went from Stephenville, and that got my interest up when the object went straight towards the President Bush's ranch, his summer residence, where he always had those world meetings where Putin, UN Secretary General, and the Prime Minister of Spain. I mean, you had a lot of head of states who came to the ranch. And Stephenville is only 60 miles from the ranch. And the object went flying at high speed towards the ranch. So, in addition of that, we are very lucky in this case is that after request by MUFON for through the Freedom of Information Act, they managed to get millions of radar data from the FAA, and they compiled it very carefully. They did a wonderful job, and what they found was that at the same moment, the same place, same direction, all the witnesses have described, a mysterious object is there with no transponder, and it does travel speed and direction that the witness have. So corroborating the witness account, as well as seeing the object going 10 miles the president's ranch, and this is so we follow. They could follow the object from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. And what happens at 8 p.m. The object is seen going towards the president's ranch. It's really, really close, only 10 miles away, and then all the data stops because the Freedom of Information request was done for 4 hours. So we don't know what happened after 8 p.m. So we have a mass sighting. We have millions of radar data from not one tower but many towers. What would have happened if the president had been there at the ranch? Really not allowed that anything should be flying close to the president, miles and miles away. So there's there's aerial protection over the president at all times. So that's my story when I thought, well, what happened if the president had been there at night and that this mysterious huge object would be flying straight at him? And what would have happened if the Prime Minister of Canada was supposed to arrive the same evening for a state visit? And so this is the beginning of the story. The Americans are telling the Canadians to delay the departure from Toronto, from Ottawa Airport, and to delay it again, and finally they're cancelling the visit. And the Canadians are quite frustrated because they were expecting a lot of coverage, and the Prime Minister wanted to show off his new wife to the international press, and was looking to meet the American president. But this was not going to happen that day, and Canadians are asking the Americans, well, what happened? And the Americans are not willing to give any information to the Canadian side. So there's growing frustration in Ottawa, and really out of character, the Canadians decide to send one of their spies to Stephenville to try to figure out really what happened that day. I found the for myself in 2008. I was sitting in Norway at the time, in Oslo, and I was not in China yet. And I was reading all those events as they were happening, and using for the first time the internet to do so, to check on a new massive sighting. That was I felt it was a watershed moment because I was always interested in UFOs. I always kept it in the back of my mind, but not more than other subjects of particular interest. And so we have this massive sighting. The sighting appears, this very large object seems to go straight at the President Ranch, and I wanted to really figure out where was the President that evening. We are told he was not there at the ranch, and but we are not exactly sure where he was that day. What's interesting is that they never again used that residence to meet any foreign dignitary afterwards. And now it seems that he's not using that ranch anymore. He prefers to stay in, I think it's in Dallas. I guess investigate it for myself, and the way I chose to do that is through, a work of fiction, by basically sending my hero, Paul Medoc, down there to try to figure out for himself what happened that day. So, and it's in the course of writing it then that I started to figure out my version of events. So what I want to say is that I tried to keep as much as possible the event as it was, but of course I changed the names of the people. I don't describe anyone in Stephenville per se, and even if I keep as a central part of the story a lady journalist, she's not Angela Joyner. She's maybe bright and brave like her, but that's about it. And I use a character of a radio anchor, very attractive Chinese American, and who's going to team up very, very soon with Paul Medoc to try to go back, interview the witnesses, and try to figure out what happened that day. And what Medoc finds is that the objects didn't just come on the 8th of January, but kept coming. And it looks like, there are indications that the objects seems to be coming for certain individual in the community and maybe is abducting them. So I bring very different topics, the whole UFO phenomena inside the novel. I talk about the different ideas of what they could be in the course of that inquiry by Medoc, but I also look deeper into the abduction phenomena. And because, as you've seen in the first chapter of the book, Medoc is a trained hypnotherapist. He's not just a good spy, he's also a psychologist. He's able to discern better than others the truthfulness of some testimony, and he may use his skills to put people in trance, to have them relive the moment where they see the object. And then he can confirm that some of them have indeed been abducted. So this is where the story goes. And then the Secret Service at the ranch is tipped off by the police officers of Stephenville that a stranger is roaming in the city and asking questions about the 8th of January. And the Secret Service scramble and mobilize Homeland Security to chase the intruder. So then Medoc and Aline Sue, the reporter, they have to escape. So this is, in a nutshell, the storyline.
Why would a huge ship that you couldn't miss be over and linger over those certain places? What's your theory on that?
Of course, it's only hypothesis, but we have many reports of very large ships being seen by part of cities or by thousands of people at the same time. And in Stephenville is one case, but with confirmation by radar. So it's not mass hallucination. Right? It is something that radars picked up at the same time. But we've seen the same very, very large object, even maybe larger, of the Phoenix, Arizona in '97. We know about the triangle that was seen hovering over Belgium in the 90s, over a 3-month period, seen by hundreds of people or thousands of people. So the significance of that's a very, very interesting topic. Mm-hmm. It's at the core of what UFO could be, and this is so. I think circumstantial evidence to say yes, there is something that UFO does exist as a phenomenon. I think for anyone looking into the matter, there's enough material laying around for anyone to, if psychologically you don't have you're not blocked to the idea completely for some reasons, you should come to the conclusion by yourself. Any listener looking at the mass of information available on the internet should come to the conclusion that yes, it's a real phenomena. Now the question is, why do they happen? Why do they come to specific places? Does it have a mystical reason? Is it what are they? Is it mystical? Are they just visitors from other planet systems? Are they? What are they? It's a fascinating topic, and I think many people have different takes on that. I don't let the reader hanging. I give my own take through the book, and it allowed me, in fact, writing the book, to concentrate on the subject, try to figure it out for myself what I thought, and my own take. And it's really that it's not worth more than that. It's just my own personal conviction. It's really not based on facts. Is that maybe we are seeing two different types of phenomena. One, maybe the visitation by out of this galaxy people, out of this planetary system, a race of beings who are probably more advanced than us if they can fly those objects and travel such distances. They're probably more advanced than us. And maybe another type of phenomena may be a more mystical, spiritual phenomena that is also appearing in our skies and of beings. Then that of course is for grab. But I'm interested in the idea that the visitors, if they are much more advanced than us, maybe they're not biological anymore. And we see already with transhumanism, with all those scientific discovery that seems to merge, into what is called now the singularity, human beings and machines. We see that more and more, and that's happened in decades. How we carry around computers that are 1 million times more powerful and smaller than MIT large computers in the 60s, and we all have that in our hands today. How the computers have become so small that we may in the future, in several decades from now, swallow instead of swallowing our vitamins, we'll take our vitamins in the morning, but we will maybe swallow our nanobots that will regulate inside our body some disease, will interact with the internet by themselves, and will do things for us to keep us alive longer. So there's this idea that we are moving into this important moment where we are approaching more and more this idea of singularity. We are merging with the technology, with machines. So what would happen to biological race that are thousands of years more advanced than us? Is a biological evolution just one part, one moment of the evolution, and did they transfer their consciousness into more durable support? So I bring the topic of sentient machines into the book, and maybe don't want to reveal too much of the book, but
that's right.
Maybe in one we have more advanced species or sentient machines visiting us, and on the other hand, maybe we have some spiritual phenomena that appears in our sky, as they have always done so over thousands of years. We have medieval reports of lights in the skies and cigar shapes and many suns suddenly appearing. So and if we read very interesting books like Carl Jung's own take on UFOs, he the great psychologist, Swiss psychologist, wrote in the 60s, soon before his death, actually, he wrote Flying Saucers. And he looked into the phenomena that is extremely consistent with the phenomena we have today. Nothing has changed much. And he does speak about the possibility that UFOs are spiritual in nature. And that human beings have always. Yes, sorry?
What do you think about that? Because Jung thought, of course, he was always doing the collectively what we were doing, and then in the, let's say, when they were observing this in the medieval times, they did think it was more of a spiritual thing. And what do you think? Do you feel like, to me, sometimes I think it's a challenge to us spiritually.
Well, I think Carl Jung is a mountain of knowledge, and we are projecting ourselves in space, and we want to conquer Mars next, and we sort of colonize the world everywhere we can, and at the same time we have very small idea of how our own mind functions. We have very little idea about our nature as humans, and I think Carl Jung has helped us to understand ourselves much better, and I think his contribution to humanity in that regard is great. So when such a mountain of a man take on the subject of UFO, I think people interested in the subject should read his book. And what is very interesting is that he doesn't conclude that the UFO phenomena is man-made or brain-made, if you want. He does recognize that part of the phenomena, or some of the phenomena, is seen by radars, seen by machines who cannot have delusions. At the same time, he also study the fact that, interestingly, the shape of the objects that many people report are those primordial shapes, those archetype shapes that he has studied all through his life, like the circle, the similar to the Tibetan mandala, but who are seen in all cultures, that are very symbolic, and it's also ultimate feminine symbol. So we somehow maybe project circles, perfect circle into the heavens. And his counterpart, the male counterpart, the male symbol counterpart, the cigar, is also projected into the sky. So the two shapes we see, the circle, the saucer shape, or the cigar, are very heavily connotated psychologically, and the triangle as well, certainly, as a feminine symbol. So Jung helps us think that maybe part of the phenomena are indeed projection of the human mind. The humans have two kinds of projection. They've always been able to do that. One is out of mental illness, and this has a very negative, of course, connotation in our society. And another one are those spiritual visions, and that capacity to actually see in a spiritual way something in the heavens, and this is seen positively within cultures. So in some cases we have to keep in mind that our psychology, our psyche, is able to project, to see something which is not there, and it actually may happen to us more often than we think during the day. So that. And then there's the whole aspect of mysticism and what is beyond the veil of reality. And I think that Carl Jung is very open to all sorts of possibilities there. So it's certainly a very profound book that he's written on the topic, and I really suggest everyone interested to go and read it. Not very long. Very easy, accessible, and highly interesting, I think.
Yeah, you can find it. It's by Carl Jung, C-A-R-L, Jung, J-U-N-G, and it's Flying Saucers.
Called Flying Saucers.
I've read that book. But then I read almost everything by him, and
autobiography that he has written very shortly before dying, and he believes in the spiritual world, in the spiritual realm, and he says, it's not just that I believe, I know it exists. So he's very open to all sorts of things, and I think his divorce, if you want, from Freud, which he liked very much, was probably because his mind would not. He would refuse to think that human beings could only be defined by sexuality. There were much more at play than just
yeah, because Freud was literally obsessed with that, and I did the same thing actually. I just, of course, we're forced to study it in school if you want to do counseling or therapy of any kind. That's what I do. But I also was analyzed over at the Young Institute up in Pico in Los Angeles, and that was one of the most wonderful experiences of my whole life because they're really into dream analysis and creativity and sand work and all this other stuff, And I only found that book. That was before I realized I had ever had any contact with any kind of alien life or anything, and I was doing all that. It was almost like I've been taught and guided the whole time in this direction. So by the time I did read that book, I was like, okay, Carl Jung is writing about it. It could be possible. And then, of course, I realized I had my own experiences. And then a friend of mine, the one that saw the Arizona lights that you were talking about, I think she was even there for the Texas lights, her and her husband. And because I remember them calling me, and they were saying there's a big, immense black object that you couldn't really see, but when you looked directly at it, you then realized it was blotting out the sky. And you can only tell the shape because it was so dark that there was lights around it.
I mean, you're perfectly right. I think the fact that the UFO phenomenon has been ridiculed doesn't mean that it should be so. And actually, Carl Jung, but a lot of other people have been looking at the topic, studying it, and public officials, from Churchill to Nixon to all sorts of people, and Carter has been on the record, and we know that Clinton was interested by it, and so on. So, interestingly, if we go back at the beginning, in the 40s, the soon-to-be constituted CIA was deeply involved in studying the phenomena, and we know from the first director of intelligence, Vice Admiral Roscoe Hillenkotter, that it was UFO should not be a topic of ridicule, and he was, I think, very important to if you want to, first of all, he was a board member of NICAP, the National Investigation Committee on Aerial Phenomena, in '56. But he was best known for a statement he did in the '60s in a letter of Congress that was reprinted by the New York Times, where so he basically he's the founding father of the CIA, right? And he says, behind the scene, high-ranking Air Force officers are soberly concerned about UFOs. But through official secrecy and ridicule, many citizens are led to believe the unknown flying objects are nonsense. So, again, and what I find fascinating with Hillenkotter is that he was a naval attaché in Paris at several times, but last time after 47, and he met French officials, and he met them after the if you remember, the Battle of Los Angeles. This very strange event that happened that night, where the aerial defense were on full actions, tried to shoot down a mysterious object above Los Angeles, and this is very well remembered by anyone who was there in Los Angeles, that terrifying night in Los Angeles, where they thought a new Pearl Harbor was happening. And the MUFON director, international director, was in France about a couple of months ago, meeting other similar organizations in Europe, and those organizations being government-led organizations, not like MUFON. And the French delegation from that organization I mentioned earlier showed the MUFON person the secret memo that were written out of the meeting that French Secret Service had, meeting with Helen Carter in Paris when he was a naval attaché, saying that actually UFO exist and are not from this earth, and that the Los Angeles event was real. It was a UFO. So we have this French memo, which is, has some, it's a classified document, and shown to the MUFON person and say, well, so what about this? And then the director came back totally shocked by seeing this document, this transcript of discussion. So I think we, again, I think for anyone who wants to have a clearer picture about UFO and should it be ridiculed, should it be considered as part of our reality, and should we try to really figure out what they are, or do we know what they are and people should be told? I think there's a lot of information lying around. So
yeah, I'm really happy because the internet now provides us with a wide range of resources, support groups. I belong to Zero, and that's where I got my help through John Mack, who was one of the first people just to come forward. He says, I believe these people. They're not psychologically ill. They're telling the truth, and the world has missed. He got killed by a drunk driver, but we're missing. We need people to stand behind the other people. A lot of people are coming out, but it just seems that a lot of people are still unaware of what's going on. Remarkably to me,
it is, and certainly John Mack is a hero of mine, and I love his writing.
Too.
I think he was a remarkable figure, and still is. And I think you will find echo of him in one of the characters later in the book. I think it's quite transparent that John Mack is there somewhere.
Yes.
Of course, unnamed, but he plays a role. He's hovering as well. His spirit is hovering as well in this book, I think. And I've been interested myself in hypnosis, in hypnotherapy, and I've taught myself, and so I've trained myself in hypnotherapy, and I've helped a family member and friends, never for fees.
The gain, yeah.
Just to help myself and others, and so I completely relate to the fact that through hypnosis you can get a lot of someone's memory and uncover memories that may have been erased, and I think it's absolutely credible that when you have former abductees that are put in trance, good specialists, that when they relive an event, it's something that certainly has happened to them, and I think there's an attempt to try to discredit John Mack even now.
It is a wonderful tool, and you can actually find John Mack on YouTube. They have a lot of his specials on there. I started watching those things again, and just ever understanding, considerate, treats the topic thoughtfully. And I wonder about the people that are making fun of others, because it's starting to feel like to me that there's like a whole, deception and the cover-up of a UFO experience and telling people they're lying when they're telling the truth. That's disturbing to me.
I think you are right. I think some of them are people that just can't tolerate the idea that UFOs and foreign species could be visiting us. This is too much for some people, and they just refuse it and ban it from their mind and attack anybody who brings it up. But I think there's such a organized attempt to ridicule anyone that come forth. And the media is so clearly playing that game, that it's, for me, it's similar than when we see what's happening in the media and in relation to secrecy and government wiretapping everybody, and the behavior of the NSA, and seeing how everybody come to the defense of NSA, and anybody daring to say anything is a traitor, and the media are really playing that. They have 40 slides from Snowden, and for the moment they only released 4, and Washington Post did that only after he knew that The Guardian was going to do it anyway. But what happened to the 36 other slides? Still, they're not releasing them. Still, it's people are not supposed to see them for whatever reasons, and so that I think more and more we see that some people, very well organized on some topics, some important topics in our lives, are just deciding to keep the lead on things, and they are very successful in doing that as long as the main media is controlled. And then, so for people to break through this problem, they have to resort to alternative media, and then alternative media is populated with disgraceful pseudo alternative media that are not much better. So it's very hard for people to find good sources of information, and they are there around, of course. But you have to really go through so much disinformation that most people get lost, and then they go back to the main media, and they keep out of the loop of what's happening in many issues in our lives. So my humble attempt with this novel is to bring the UFO phenomena within legitimate fiction. This is new. This is not a new age novel. This is not a sci-fi novel. It is a straightforward thriller where we speak about the UFO like any other topic. So, because I think it deserves to be a topic, as it is so much part of our life already.
Yes, it does. It's as you're talking, I'm listening to you, and I'm realizing, we all have a part in this story, and of creating our own personal thoughts about this. Is that we all have to be brave and just be ourselves and tell the truth, no matter what comes down. I saw the reason why I'm saying this, I saw a small little thing early morning. I was up at 4:30. This was on KTLA Channel 5 in California, and it said a pilot made a report that they saw a UFO. Now, this is near the LAX. I watched for the rest of the day from 4:30 in the morning till 9 o'clock. They when the news reporters were sitting there, they kind of chuckled, and then they looked at each other awkwardly. I never saw it again, ever. It was never brought up again. I was waiting because I called my best friend, and she works for an aerospace company. I said, you've got to turn on the news, at least try to watch this spot. They're talking about a pilot, right here locally saw a UFO. It disappeared. Now, what are we so afraid of?
I think it's not afraid of. I think that in this case and in other cases, the truth is only for some. For some who are probably benefiting from it, and the rest of the people is not supposed to know about it. And so, unfortunately, it's not just UFOs. I think it is a number of very important topics in our life. And
scientific and go ahead.
Well, certainly, if indeed the government is very well aware and knows about visitors and had contact and can exploit some technological advance, it makes very much sense that they would want to control it. And you have very, very powerful groups, powerful companies that weigh so heavily in American political life because they fund everything. If you imagine that to be elected in Congress today, to have any chance, you have to spend at least $1 million. And to be elected as a senator, you need at least 5. Not to speak about being president of the United States. There you need hundreds of millions of dollars to have any chance. So So it's very much a question of money and funding, and those very large corporations do have, I think, a stake in keeping, if they have their hands in this technological pie, they would want to keep it for themselves. So it makes complete sense. And then we came out of the Cold War era, where certainly we didn't want to reveal advanced technology to the Russians, to the Soviets. So the culture of secrecy has been there with us for a very long time, and we had a very credible threat against. We had to get to be ready against, and those was the Soviet Union, and the Soviets it seems to have been frequently visited by UFOs, and were wondering if Americans were doing that. So there's a rationale, very clear rationale. I think Richard Dolan is speaking very eloquently about that. There's a rationale for the structure of power not wanting that the UFO reality being disclosed. At the same time, I think there's enough evidence for our listeners, for anyone to search the internet, spend time, and make their own mind about it. And I think if you do it with an open mind, then I think the evidence are overwhelming. There's a moment in history which was the golden opportunity, was the collapse of the Soviet Union, where you could have a moment where, as John le Carré said, there was those golden minutes where you could have reinvented international relations into a much more peaceful environment.
Open communication, and give and take.
What happened is that it seems that it never happened, and in fact, the people were benefiting already from the Cold War, meaning the vast technological industry, military industry, very large groups have doubled down, in fact.
Because I have a concern for people that are still just going to live in their box and say, this isn't real, that isn't real, people are mass hallucinating. When it comes down and a few of these ships to park on somebody's front yard or the White House lawn, we don't know. People are going to go into complete shock. It is going to be like Orson Welles. You remember that Halloween stunt he told? People went nuts. And I'm thinking, that's the 50s. We haven't progressed that far as some people are still denying of existence. This is what I believe, Mark. I believe that we're on a planet that's beautiful blue marble out in space. If we're here, anybody else could be anywhere. We're here. We live on a planet in outer space, don't we?
Sure. Absolutely.
I'm just doing a reality check. I mean, we're here. So why can't anybody else be there? We're here as proof that there's people living in outer space, because we're in outer space.
This mass sighting in Stephenville back in 2008.
Yes.
And the next one is going to be, I think, a very, very critical event, because the Internet has matured a lot since 2008. We're so much more connected now, 5 years later. So whenever it happens the next time, it will be reported immediately on Twitter, on Facebook, on everywhere. And people will share that event. People will photograph it with their device. It will be a major, major event. And I think that then it would be, maybe the watershed moment where you can't keep it on it. And wherever the next event, massive event happen, be it in Beijing or in California, we will be able to share it. And this is the new situation we have. So I think Phoenix was a great event, mass sighting. Even the governor reported seeing it afterward. Stephenville was the next one, some 11 years later. So we have to be patient, I guess, and wait for the next one, because the government is not going to release what they know about the issue. This is kept secret somewhere, and we're not supposed to be interested in the topic, and we're supposed to be ridiculed if we are interested by it. So But the next mass sighting, I'm sure, is coming our way, and it will be shared like it has never been before. It will be known and viewed, lived. We will live together, all of us, across many countries. And I think that will be the watershed moment where governments will have to.
Excuse me, Mark. Do you think it's intentional on the UFO's part to fly a UFO the size of the Pentagon over a certain spot? There's intention to that, to me.
I would think they do. I mean, I think it's very unlikely that by chance they managed to find the Bush Ranch.
Yeah. True.
So I think if there was that message is not really coded.
No.
It's pretty straightforward. I don't know what it was. Warning.
Okay, Mark, somebody asked me this. Somebody asked me recently, well, where are the aliens living? I said, they're liveaboards. If they're driving a ship the size of the Pentagon, they're living up here. They're living here. But some say now they're here. They live among us. They're into the hybrids and all that. What do you think about all that?
I think that there are wonderful research has been done in this topic, and I think they if they are so advanced, then they could certainly be able to change shape, have invisibility cloaked, so we can't see their ship most of the time when they're hovering our cities, or when they're anywhere. I mean, you have and in America you have a number of secret American bases where nobody knows what happened inside. So we have. I mean, our planet is big enough so you can hide few colonies of visitors. I think that's no problem. We are pretty good today at hiding technology and invisibility technology. So what could we be doing 1 million years from now, or only several thousand years from now, in the future, in terms of hiding ourselves or disguising ourselves or changing shape and form, whatever. I think it's totally plausible that indeed if we are visited by those advanced beings, that they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, they could be there and we can't see them. Because we do have that capability now of watching something on the military, and they have these. It's just like a jacket or a hoodie, and you put it over yourself, and you can't be seen.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. And also, if we just go back to John Mack and trance and so on, the capacity for a simple hypnotherapist to put someone in trance, or to bring someone to that, is very real, and we can have someone have vision. We can actually have someone fly in the sky or have the impression and so on. So more advanced species just being among ourselves would certainly be able to tap into our brainwaves and do whatever they want with us, really. Having forget that we see them, or having them, having us see them differently than they appear or they are in reality. I mean, it should not be that complicated to manipulate our brainwave in many ways, I think. I mean, if you're around the corner, hypnotherapists can do it. I think that they should be able to do that quite efficiently as well.
Exactly. And there's other ways to do it with sound, with tone, with lighting. There's so many things that they know now will affect us, and we don't know what we're really looking at times. To me, that's very fascinating. Because sometimes, I have I have experienced these strange things and saw something that wasn't quite what it appeared to be. I think we've all felt that creeped out thing. I think kids feel it most of all. Like, what's going on? What's in that corner? What's, you know what I mean? There is stuff going on all the time, you know, because I think our animals are reporting it. You know, when you have your animals thrown into a corner when nothing's there, there is something really strange going on.
In fact, we had this intuition, I guess, throughout our history about, and you know, that took the shapes of different religion, different belief system. But the humans always had the intuition there was something beyond the visible. There was a realm that is very active in our reality, and how to interact with that reality, we construct a number of religious practices. But now we are somehow we put a lot of those intuition into the under carpets, and we are inhabiting this very materialistic world. And I think the human psyche is somehow frustrated by this situation because it works differently. All is not logical, materialistic, and according to cause and consequences, you know. And I think that maybe UFOs, maybe other issues that you have mentioned are linked to the fact that our world is much more complex than that. That there are indeed many events that seems like incredible coincidence, but they are very meaningful to us, and there are kind of clues given to us to figure out that there may be something greater than all particular life, than all the reality as we see it. And it can take its shape by people meeting at the same time, or dreaming about somebody and then someone knocks at your door in the morning, it's the same person. Or wanting to talk to someone, the person calls you on the phone. Or, you know, numbers appearing in front of you in shape of your hotel room number, and it all kind of, it's meaningless for anybody else, but for you it has a great echo, it has a great symbolism, great meaning. And I think and then we go back again to the great Carl Jung and his whole idea about synchronicity. Yeah. So yeah, I absolutely agree.
That links us all, you know, and it's a beautiful thing, and I kind of, you know, feel sorry for, you know, the ones that are being left behind because they're sticking to some program that was, you know, 30, 40 years before they were even born, and they're sticking with that program and keeping a closed mind, and they're, you know, I feel bad because they're left behind by technology, they're left behind by thought, and I'm very happy to know that the newest little kids coming up now are going to have a totally different world than we have, Mark.
Yes, but they will be, they are kind of forced to be merged with machines, and that's the scary part.
Yeah,
when I saw my own child playing video games, really got scared. I got really this feeling that the machine was teaching my child to be like a machine, to interact like a machine, and what is?
Well, it makes me, you know, you're right. It makes me wonder how babies are so good at getting on the computer. I mean, they get on it fast. Little babies, faster than, let's say, a 50-year-old that hasn't really been techno-savvy will get on there and can't do it, where a 2-year-old can get on there and do it.
Yes, and we don't know the consequences. We know that since the Internet has been created, our brain is shaped slightly differently. We kind of remember less now because things that we can find again and again and again on the Internet by Googling it. We don't have to store it in our own mind anymore. So it's kind of the Internet, kind of already an extension of our brain, and it's wiring our brain differently. What happens with the new generation, nobody knows. What is the long-term consequences? But they are major. They are very important.
It's major, and it's very important. And we only have like a few minutes left. So do you want to?
Yes.
What is a major message you have for our listeners and your readers, and tell them where to get your book?
I thank you for being such a wonderful host. I try to tell a lot, or to give my take on the UFO in this fiction, Texas Lights, that you can find on Amazon on Kindle. And I'm writing other novels. I hope that the next one will be out this summer, where I visit another topic that I think is very important, which is the supposed war on terror, how all that was constructed. I think it's a major of major importance of our time, and I think through literary fiction or literary license, I'm able to slowly bring the topic or a lot of the complexity in topic into the page in a format which is fun to read. What I'm trying to do is to, through fun, entertaining novels, to seriously talk about topics that I think are very important in our time, and that should not be ridiculed or should be looked at. So that's my purpose, and this is how I'm this my small contribution, and I hope people can understand it.
Where can they get a hold of you at, Marc? Where can people contact you at?
They can Google me. I think I'm the only Marc Sima in the internet. So Sima is the family. So Marc Marc Sima Sima. And I have a blog, but they can find me on Facebook, on Twitter, and of course, I have my author page on Amazon. So that's maybe the easiest way to start. And they can find other interviews and articles I've written. And otherwise, I'm always answering readers or anyone sending me by email some question or trying to contact me. I always answer. I'm very glad that I'm able to do that. And I'm teaching at university in Beijing, and that leaves me time to do my writing and time to contact people to respond to people that are very kind to contact me. So I'm very interested. Also, I will be writing this fall. I think I will start a Texas Light 2, or the follow-up to the story. And I'm really interested to have feedback of readers of that one, where they think the story should go next. And
I think that's awesome. And I have provided links to your blog and to Texas Lights directly. So if you click on Texas Lights and Marc Sima's biography on the front of the page, you'll go straight to Amazon. And I want to thank you, Marc. You're a fascinating guest, and I'd love to have you on again. And we will someday we'll have a better connection. Because I just love to have you on. And it's you're amazing, and I'm really interested in your work, and I think your book is fascinating. And I want to thank you so much for calling in tonight and sharing your life with us.
Well, thank you for your kindness, for your support, for everything, Char. Much, much appreciated.
Well, I'm there because we're friends, so if you need anything, Marc, let me know, too. And I really appreciate you very much. And take care of you and your family. That I don't know, I can't say enough about our guest tonight. His books, it's a really great book, and it's a good mystery novel. And there's parts of it that really touch me. And I think just get the book and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's pretty amazing. And I want to thank Marc very, very much again. I know that we had an off and on connection, but we just have to be patient. It is live radio. And once again, thank you, Marc Sima, author and teacher, and he had Skyped in from Beijing. And I want to thank all the listeners for being so patient and listening to us every week. You guys mean a lot to me, and I want to thank you for participating. And